I am going to show you how to wrap this beautiful Herkimer Diamond. Look at the shine on that. It's a double Herkimer Diamond and it has rainbow aura up here and a few inclusions in it, but it just shines magically. So my friend asked me if I could wire wrap this, and I'm pretty sure I can. She is requesting gold because there is a gold aura in there in some areas. So first of all, what we're going to do is measure out our wire. Now this is 21 gauge square wire. So I measured out the stone, circumference of the stone, it's about 2 inches. So I am just going to go 3 just to have a little bit of extra space. So we take 3 inches and add 4 inches to make the bail and any embellishments you want on that. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to cut 3 7-inch lengths of the square wire, 21 gauge square wire. There's 1, 2, let's see if I can do this quickly. Now, 21 gauge, as you know, this is soft. They call it dead soft square wire. So it's very pliable. You don't want to bend it back and forth too much, but you can play with it. And as you work with it, it's going to harden. So we've got our 3 7-inch lengths, and that's going to go around the side. Then you want to cut 3 half round 21 gauge wire. So this is half round, it's a lot thinner. There's the top side and the back side is flat. So you're going to cut 3 lengths of this, 3 inches each. I will cut those off camera, but then you're going to cut 1 length 6 inches to secure the bail. Okay, then we're going to straighten the wire. And you can do this, I'll do it all off camera, but I'll show you how to do one, and then we can do it off camera. So here's the square wire. Now you only have to straighten the square wire because the other is so small, it's very pliable. So you use your flat nose or whatever you want to use to hold on to one end, and then use your straightener to just kind of straighten the wire and get them all the same straightness, so they all meld together just fine. So see how that straightens it out? So these are these coated wires, cutters, pliers. They're coated. They have the little rubbers so you can straighten your wire. Okay, next we're gonna put the crimps around the cage. So your 3-inch half round, the top is rounded, the bottom is flat. So put the flat side down, hold it at about the middle of the 7 inches, which is 3.5, and wind it around. Gently, not too tight because you want it to lay flat. We're trying to force these 3 wires to lay flat, but hold them together. So this is a very small stone. I'm just going to put four crimps to hold that in. And then flatten it down, push it together. Now you'll notice that I've coated these with rubber coating. This is so that we don't scratch our wires. It's just an added little step. So there's the crimp. Now you'll notice that my wires are bending to the back. We're going to snip those off. So go ahead, and I'll do it off camera. Go ahead and take your next 3-inch wires and form a little crimp up about here, about an inch above it, and about an inch below. And I'll do that off camera. So now we have all 3 of our crimps attached. This is going to be the front. This will be the back that's going to wrap around your stone. So we get our little cutters, and we want to go ahead and just cut these little tails off, and cut them off just inside, because you don't want anything poking out and ripping your clothes or anything like that. Now, be careful with these snips are doing really gently, but sometimes they can pop. So wear glasses or hold it way down so it can't pop in your eye. Now see, we want to leave them a little loose like this so we can adjust them. So they need to be reasonably tight on there, but loose enough that you can move them around. Don't just, you know, crimp them down too hard just yet. So we're just snipping off the edges. So now you see you have them, they're all facing the same way. The ends are all on the back side, and this is going to be the inside. So just crimp them down a little bit with one of your tools. These little rubber-ended ones work real well, and just so they're snug, but not tight that you can't move them, because we're going to have to adjust them a little bit. Now see, I put a few more crimps up on the side, and there's only 4 right there. So then once you get all 3 crimps on, got all 3 here, I'm going to measure again and make sure that my middle crimp is in the middle, and it is. It stayed kind of right where it needs to be, 3.5. And then kind of gauge how close you want these other crimps. So ideally, I'm going to put 1 crimp on the bottom and 1 on each side. Now, as you learn to do this a little bit better, you can kind of go wild and put them wherever you want. But to start out learning, it's easiest if you just start out in the middle. Now remember, we want these, where we cut the tails off, we want that to go on the inside. So let's see, I'll try to get you down a little closer. So hopefully you could see the movements here. So this is the middle crimp. It's going to go right at this point. Now sometimes on points like this, it's hard to get them on. So I just hold the stone down with my forefinger, and I put my thumb right against the bottom where I want that. And then push the wire up around. Take your flat nose, leave about 1/4 inch, and just crimp the top back. Just bend it back. So see how that's lining up there? Now I'm going to do the other side. So hold it however you can, bend the wire, don't worry about the other crimps, up to the top. Now this is an odd shape, so it's a little different. Move it up to the top, keeping the bottom, and just kind of get it up there as best you can. I tend to go over a bit and then crimp it back, because we're trying to form a cage around this stone. So there you see, it looks like it's about right to me. Now we can adjust these, decide where we want to put the crimps. So in this case, I'm going to put the crimp a little bit lower and this one a little higher, because it's going to be a little, this one's going to be a little different wire wrapping. It's not just a regular round stone. So this is going to be kind of fun to play with. I plan on putting a wire right between the 2 of them. So at that point, when you get your little crimps where you think you want them, because you're going to make prongs out of the wires on top, take a little rubber tie and just tie it at the neck so it stays together, just like that. Okay, your next step is to make the prongs. You're going to figure out how you are going to hold it in there. So I think I'll use this one. So just, I like to use my fingernail and just kind of spread so you can get the top wire. So try to grab just the top wire, bend it a little bit, and create a little prong. And I like to lift it up just to create room to put the stone in. Then you go to the next wire. We're just working with the top wire now. Take your little pliers. This one's going to be hard because it is just a little area. So I'll use my little travel ones. And then I like to pull it up. Now there is a lot of give here because we haven't tightened anything up here. So when you pull from here, it's going to pull some of the wire from the top. And then we're going to go to our last one over here. Now these are going to be bendable. This is copper wire that has been coated with gold, a gold coating. So see, now you've got 3 lifts there, and we're going to create prongs out of them. Then you want to flip it over and go to the back and do the same with the bottom. You go to the bottom too. Just separate it with my fingernail because this is a small space right there, but it's a smaller stone than I usually do. And so just do the bottom. Pull out the bottom, hold it, pull it out, make a little prong. Okay. Now, if your little crimps have started bending around a little bit, you can go ahead and flatten them again. Sometimes the little ends just kind of flatten them so that they stay together. These look pretty good. Okay, here's the fun part. We're going to put the stone in the cage. Now this one is an odd shape, so it's going to be fun getting in there. There we go. So now that you've got it kind of secure in the cage, see, that looks like it's going to fit pretty good. Go ahead and bend whatever back wires you have left. So in this case, I've only got 1. Usually I have 4, but this is a small item. So I'm going to take the top back wire and bend it over to hold that in. And I'll decide how to bend it further to make sure this is going to stay in here. So go ahead and play with your wire a little bit and make sure that you can get the prongs in there nice and tight, right up against the stone. Use the rubber part of your pliers and just work with it. Bend it, heat up the wire, meld it to your stone as best you can because you want it in there as tight as you can get it. Now I'm going to be moving this down a little bit and be playing with it. But there's the idea. So play with it. Move your little prongs up against the stone. Tighten it in. This one's a little different because it's a Herkimer Diamond. It's not just a flat stone. So work with it a little bit and I'll get back to you when I get mine secured in there and show you what it looks like. Okay, now once you've worked with your crimps and you've got them securely in there, you've worked them around. If you have a round stone, it's going to be a lot easier. This is just an odd shape, but I kind of followed the stone, the lines of the stone, and put the crimp in this little divot here. And same with the back, I pulled it down and put it in the divot, and that'll hold it in. There's just so much color in the stone. The gold is just reflecting beautifully. So this one's shaped a little odd. Hopefully you're doing a round or, you know, something that's a lot easier to work with, maybe a teardrop. At any rate, get all your crimps in and make sure that it's not loose. Make sure that it's not going to fall out. You don't want to be walking somewhere and your stone fall out and break. So I always shake it a little bit just to make sure. So the next step is pull, you've got 6, because we use 3 wires, you have 6 ends up here. So the ones closest to the front, pull forward a little and just get them out of the way. And then the other 3 leave straight up in the back. And we're going to make our bail out of those. So grab your bail maker. I like to use the wider side. I like the holes to be a little bit bigger so you can put a ribbon or piece of leather or whatever you want to put it on. So go up about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. You want to leave room to twist the bail maker. So there's a lot of ways you could do it. This is just my way. So go all the way down and sort of crimp it. Come back up. Straighten it out because you want the bail to be straight above your stone. And then I go back and crimp it again because I just want to make it nice and snug. So when you're satisfied with how that's bent, you could take it out gently and see it's forming the bail there. Then I go back and I use these pliers to crimp it again, just crimp it together tightly. And see how you have your bail there. You have a nice big hole. Then we're going to go ahead and take off our little wire carefully because it's holding things together and you don't want to lose that. I mean, you can always gain it back, but so take it off carefully. It's kind of slow here. I'm going slow. And make sure to hold it together at the neck. Kind of the front wires and the back wires, kind of, you know, merge them up against each other. And like I said, this wire is pretty forgiving, so you can be a little rough with it. Just don't bend it back and forth at the same place. Then take your little rubber coated wire again and put it at the neck and just tighten it up. Cinch it up. Mess with them to get them the way you want, but cinch it up because we're going to use this 6-inch half-round wire to make the bail. So there you go. You've got it kind of how you want it. Then this next step, make sure you're cutting carefully because you don't want to mess up your whole project. So we need to remove the tails, or you can leave them on and use them as decorative items. But I go down and I cut it about, you know, to a 1/4 inch. Again, close your eyes because see, they snip. They can jump all over the place. So cut them about even. So see how they're trimmed off right there. Now just push them against the bail. You want everything tight there because we're going to cover that. And this is the neck right here is what holds everything together. It's going to hold your whole wire wrap together. So you see how those are cut? It's about a 1/4 inch. You could go a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. I'm just going to double check them off camera real quick and I'll be right back. So once you're sure you've got them trimmed, you've got the tails and the back trimmed, or you can leave them on and do a double-sided. You can decorate it any way you like. I just don't usually like to leave something on both sides because sometimes they can catch on stuff. So I hope you could see how short I've trimmed them, about a 1/4 inch. This is a smaller one. If you have a larger stone, you can leave it longer and make sure that it's in there tight. I'm always snugging it up here. See how tight that is? So now we are going to wrap the bail. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way here. I love this little bead along plastic holder. It keeps everything up out of the way. So holding your neck tight again, go ahead and remove your little rubber coated wire. Now these I just find all over the place. When I buy something, they use them as tie downs or whatever. So hold it snug. You want everything snug in there tight. Start with one end of your half round wire. Make sure to put, sometimes it's hard to tell, but this is the rounded side and this is the flat side. So I leave a little bit of a tail so I have something to hold on to, and I just start winding it around to make sure it's secure. So go around a few times with that. Then the tail, wrap that around and try to tuck it down in. So there's the tail of the first side. Use something to try to get it tucked down in there as best you can. Flatten it out, because this is what's going to hold the whole piece together. Flatten it out. So see, it's pretty flat there. Then just continue to use the longer side and wrap around it. And I try to do it as neat as I can, but sometimes it just comes out wild. So see, once you've tucked it in, you can continue to just go right over that first edge. See, it's right there. I'm going to try to go right over it and lock it in. And then I'm trying to cover these little cutoffs here where we trimmed it a few minutes ago. Now I have more than enough wire. I'm going to go right over those to hide them. And do you see how clean that looks? Sometimes it looks really clean, sometimes it doesn't. As long as it holds it in, it's all good. Well, once you've covered it, then you just find how long of a little tail you need here, and we're going to trim that and tuck it up underneath. Here's some little pointies. So now you can leave it like that, but I don't like to have anything loose. So I just cut off a little piece wherever it's going to fit and tuck it as best you can up underneath the bail. I can mess with that a little bit later. So there you go. Looks nice and clean. I'm going to tuck that a little bit better. Looks nice and clean. It's not jiggling. And then I usually just separate these a little bit, just for decorative purposes. Okay, next we'll do the embellishment. Okay, I messed with it for a minute off camera. I was trying to get the tail, and hopefully you could see. So the longer wire, I trimmed it and tucked it up under there. It's barely noticeable. And when you put your little embellishments, it's going to cover any of that. But this one came out pretty clean. Look at how flat that one is. Sometimes they crisscross, or, you know, it's wire wrap. It's not exact. So this is a Herkimer Diamond that my friend got from a friend of hers in upstate New York. I guess she has a Herkimer Diamond mine or something up there. So I'm hoping to get some more to wire wrap. But this is for her, and she's paying me to do it for her. So now we've got some long tails here. This is a small stone. I don't want to have big floral whatever embellishments up here. So on all of my embellishments, I trim them diagonally at about the length I think I need them, and I'm just kind of going with this and trim them diagonally. Now the reason I trim them that way is I like to do a little twist. I'll use my little pliers. These work for smaller items. So see, since they're diagonally, you can bend it and it'll tuck right up against. Let's see if I can show you. It's glimmering, it's hard to see. See how it tucks right up against the wire. So you can flatten it, and that way it's not going to grab onto your clothing or whoever's wearing it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 of these. So this is how I start them out. I don't know why my pliers not holding on. Maybe I'm tired. So I've got my 3 little loops here. Now for this one, a lot of times I go just curls for flowers. For this one, I think I want it a little elongated. So I am going to do this type of little loop, the backwards forwards loop. Let's see if this will get in there. Nope, I got to use my little ones. So to the left, then you get back in there and you go to the left again there, then you get back in. I don't know if you can see this. Take it back here and go back that way. So I'm going to crimp these together so it's smaller, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let's do another one. Okay, put your pliers inside the little loop you created. Go to the left, pull them out, go back in that loop you created, go to the left again, pull them out, come up to the top, bend it whatever way you want it. So now you've created that little S. Then you want to just crimp them together little by little so it looks like this little ribbon candy. So go back in with your pliers and just work on it and crimp them together. Put them in the loops and crimp them together. This wire is very forgiving. So there's another one. So it's a little wild, but I like it. It's like ribbon candy. Crimp it together, back and forth. You're just going back and forth. And then work on crimping it together. Now you can make them all match or just kind of be a wild child. If you're having trouble getting them to go together, you can use 2 sets of pliers. Sometimes I have to do that. And I think I'll use these. I hope you can see this on camera. Otherwise, you're just going to have to mess with it and do. So then you could just push them together like that. See? And you can mess with them a little bit. There you go. That's kind of what it's going to look like. I'll tighten them up. But mess with it a little bit and get them to where you want them. It's pretty close to finished. I'm just going to go around and tighten everything up, work with my little ribbons up here, and just make sure everything's secure. And I'll show you a picture of what it looks like when it's done. But boy, is it shiny. Look at that. I hope I can get a few more of these to work with. Thanks for watching.